Check me out.
Yeah. Hey, podcast listening people, this is Connor Doobie. Welcome to the Mile High Mentors podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we're very grateful. We're very excited to have you here to bring you information and resources, insights from the local Colorado community, the influencers, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, mentors, leaders, you name it. We got them on the show. And by the way, again, I've been putting the call out on social media to you guys over the last few podcasts that we've put out, and we've been taken back by the amount of feedback that we're getting online on social media. We absolutely love hearing from you guys. Keep it up. We've been doing these live streams on Instagram with our followers and other people that have listened to the podcast, and it's been an absolute blast. I've very much enjoyed getting to know you guys better, what you're interested in, what you're doing here in Colorado, your businesses, all of the above. It's been a really good time. So keep it up, guys. Keep it up. Keep giving us a shout and keep sharing the word. It really helps us a lot. So we appreciate it. By the way, if you're interested in marketing, branding, or advertising on this platform, one way or another, there's a few ways we can go about that. We are opening up slots for potential local businesses. I'd love to work with a local business or nonprofit. If it's something you're interested in marketing through the tens of thousands of people and through the audience that we've built up, give us a shout. milehighmentors at gmail.com, milehighmentors at gmail.com, or just send us a message on social media and we can chat a little bit further about what that would potentially look like. Now, our current sponsors over at Active Blogs are putting on a webinar, a great resource for you. If you sell products and services business to business, you probably recognize that LinkedIn is a great place to be for that, but most people just don't know how to use it correctly. So check out the webinar they're putting on. It's called The Missing Links to LinkedIn Success, activeblogs.com/webinar. Again, activeblogs.com/webinar, and you can go give that a watch. It is a free training. Today's show, if you're listening to this and you're interested in real estate, commercial, residential real estate, and also people, company culture, whether you're in an organization or you're growing your own organization and you feel like people culture is very important, this podcast is going to be it's going to be one you're going to want to go back and listen to a couple times over, as I already have before we've even published it. Del de Windt, I hope I pronounced that right, brother. We got to sit down. He's the CEO of the Cardinal Group, which is a 700-person organization here in Denver with, by the way, like one of the most beautiful office spaces that I've been in. And I've been in quite a few offices in Denver, so you'll have to go check them out at some point in time. But really humble guy. Him and his partners, founders, we talked a bit about their origin story, some of the first deals that they're working on, and how they've amassed, I don't know the exact number, but quite a few awards for company culture and various other national awards, which is really impressive. And you can clearly understand why when you're hearing this guy, and when I was talking to him, I'm like, it makes total sense. Really great guy, genuine, lots of great information, and I'm very excited to share with you guys. So without further ado, please welcome Del de Windt to the Mile High Mentors podcast. I feel like I would sit down for like a home-cooked meal at this table.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
There's probably been a lot of meals eaten at this table, to be honest with you.
Uh-huh. And I don't think I'm going to be able to pick it up on camera, but those of you guys that are listening, this location is gorgeous. Like, it's absolutely beautiful. You need to come down and say what's up to Del at some point in time, because I've been to a lot of buildings and a lot of offices in Denver, and this takes the cake for sure. Yeah.
agree.
Congrats on that, man.
agree.
Congrats on your success, by the way. Like, you guys have been doing... just hopefully we'll pick that up a little bit. Yeah, congrats on your success. I mean, what you got... How do you win Best Place to Work? Is it 4 times in a row now? How do you get there? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, it's culture. It's being intentional about what you want to be when you grow up. Say a culture will form either organically or inorganically, and it may not be what you want it to look like. So I think early on we said this is what we want this company to look like from a perspective of what it looked like with 4 guys, and then what does it grow into when you're...
It's still you four
well, we
founders,
have 4
right?
founders who are the principal owners of the business and make up the board of Cardinal Group Companies, and then we have 4 entities underneath that where there's junior partners in some of those businesses. But yeah, culture's been a part of who we've always wanted to be, and we always wanted to be very intentional about what it looked like and taking from all of our collective backgrounds. And so that was a pivotal decision very early on that I think has paid off, and people really have embraced the culture. And I really credit the team for why we've been one of Denver's best places to work the last 4 years.
Yeah,
I don't think we can pat.
And the team and the scene.
Yeah, it's very rewarding to know that that's positive feedback. Being such a culture-focused company, to know that the team is actually giving you that feedback, because the way it works is they send out surveys to the team, and depending on their feedback is whether or not. So it's not, I don't even think we get the surveys. And one of the last questions almost.
But your employees get all the surveys, right?
Yeah.
And just keep rolling. I'm just fixing. I
Sure.
need to turn this.
I think the last question, at least the ones that I've seen, is were you influenced or compensated to respond in a certain way? And if anyone responds yes, you're basically disqualified from the competition.
Right.
So, a lot of national awards, but I'd say that's probably the one that we're most proud of.
So those 4 were all national awards, not the Colorado Best Place.
So we've won Denver Business Journal Best Places to Work. We've won Denver Post Best Places to Work, and we've also won Best Culture for a Medium-Sized Company for Entrepreneur Magazine. We've won Best Places to Work in Multifamily. So, and I might be missing a couple others. But,
when you're just stacking up awards like that, it's hard.
Yeah.
And I see your shelf out there too, right as you walk in.
Yeah,
it's a good location
for
them.
It was a little sparse when we moved in. It's kind of filled out a little bit, which is cool. It's hard for, I think, a company like us that sort of always wanted to be sort of under the radar, but we're in a very competitive landscape and need to really recruit to the labor force, which there's a huge labor shortage just in the economy in general, especially in multifamily, because in my opinion, the industry at large doesn't do a great job of attracting talent, as this is a good place and a good industry to work in. So we're all sort of feeling that some of these national awards are important to sort of put yourself out there to differentiate yourself.
Because there's a lot.
For the labor force. So,
right.
I think we've always said, gosh, we'd love to have just kind of go about our business doing what we do and have no one know about us. And the reality is that we need to continue to put our names out there and be in front of people for business development and for the labor force. And I don't know. It always feels a little strange to sort of announce the achievements, and it feels like kind of a pat on the back.
It's always weird to talk about yourself, but it's genuine. And we've had our phone conversation in the beginning. Like, we wouldn't be having this discussion if I did not feel like it was actually a genuine thing. So, let's work in reverse from the company culture, because that's amazing. I think that's really important that people are building their companies that way. Where are you from originally?
So I grew up just outside of Detroit, which is great. I ended up finding myself in California for school. Fell in love with the West Coast. After graduation, moved down to San Diego. Worked for a hospitality developer down there.
I'll be there next week.
Nice.
My first time in San Diego.
Are you going for a conference or?
So I'm going to a conference called $1 Billion Body.
Okay.
Which it's more men's oriented. It's like building out the 3 important keys of your life: health, wealth, and happiness. And I think that's it. Something along the lines.
Where are you staying?
I'm like literally 10 minutes from the airport.
Okay.
South of the airport.
Downtown.
Yeah, I'm pretty much downtown. Is it Little Italy? Is that the name of the? Yeah. So I'll be in that area pretty much.
So next week there's the National Apartment Association's annual meeting.
And you're going to be out there?
No, I'm not.
I'm
going to be in Florida for a family reunion, but the multifamily industry will be in San Diego, and that's where I got my start. So you'll see the Manchester Grand Hyatt, which is 2 of the most prominent buildings sort of on the waterfront, right on the marina. So started my career working for that developer. Learned hospitality development. He set off to create a venture of a hotel operating company, and put myself and a couple others on a team to help build that. And was very fortunate to just participate and be an observer and weigh in from time to time on what a high-end operating company might look like.
Mm-hmm. And, you cut your teeth.
Yeah, I was disappointed. I wanted to learn the development business, and then I ended up being on a task force to start an operations company. I was like, what did I get myself into? Really a blessing in disguise, given what we're doing. And, I think when you think about Cardinal Group, what we want people to think about us first is that we're a great operating company, that we're not a real estate company that happens to operate, that we're an operating company that happens to own real estate. Mm-hmm. And there's nuance to that, but it's an important nuance. Very few companies think about it that way.
Let's talk about that in a second. But going back to so you grew up in Detroit, and then you graduated high school there and ended up landing school in California, going to school in California. Mm-hmm. Were your parents entrepreneurs? Your mom, your dad? Like what did they do as you were growing up?
So my dad started a business that was a manufacturer sales rep company in the automotive industry, representing small Midwest manufacturers and then taking their product and selling it to the big 5 through those relationships. So
sales guy.
Yeah, had a sales guy. It was a small company, but it was his own company that he built from the ground up. So I think it was always interesting to see sort of the sacrifices of an entrepreneur. And, I think there's a misconception that when you own your own company, you have all the flexibility in the world and people are there to serve you and make your life easier, and that's just such a misnomer. The reality is that, you have to sacrifice so much of your own personal life to serve others. And people always ask me and say, what advice do you have for people when they move into a leadership role? And I would say, prepare to serve, not to be served. But yeah, I think entrepreneurialism has always been in my blood. My grandfather was a very successful business guy that took a different path sort of within a big corporation and worked his way up, but ended up being the chairman.
Entrepreneur style?
Yeah, he was an entrepreneur. Started the company at 19 and retired the company at about 68 years old and was the chairman for 30 years. And
what kind of business was this?
It was Eaton Corporation out of Cleveland, which was, I guess the best way to summarize is sort of like a small GE. But they were in 36 countries, billions of dollars in revenue.
It may just be a nuance, but it sounds familiar for some reason.
They're still around today.
Yeah. But also I have family in that area, Cleveland. So it might be,
It's a well-known company in the Midwest, especially in Cleveland. It's one of the bigger companies.
Interesting.
So just sort of seeing the way that he approached business and stuff, I feel like it was just always
influenced on you.
Influenced, yeah. So,
and your mom?
My mom had the hardest job in the world as
being a full-time mom.
Yeah. Especially for a son like me. She had her work cut out for her. But
how many siblings?
One older sister who actually came out to school in Boulder. My mom went to
DU
for her undergrad. So
that's funny.
Colorado.
So you were the younger sibling.
Yeah, I was the youngest.
So you got to get away with everything then. See, I'm the oldest. I'm one of the oldest of 7. So
you can commiserate then with my sister. She got blamed
Yeah.
for a lot of stuff that I stayed very silent on, and I've repented ever since.
Is she still out here in Colorado?
She's actually back in Detroit now.
Oh, okay.
After a long stint in Europe, now she's in Detroit. Her husband is the chief merchandising officer for Shinola, which is a kind of a cool startup. He grew up in Portland. Went
Portland's
to Northwestern,
awesome.
And, yeah,
Dude, Portland's gorgeous.
It's a cool spot.
And I've been there one time. I went there for my birthday.
Town
in Portland.
Hood River.
Uh-huh.
But ended up at Nike for a long time after going to Stanford Business School, and they moved to Europe and lived over there for a while. Ran Converse Europe, and then was recruited to Shinola, which is, you know the term, like, you don't know shit from Shinola, which was an old Army term that when the drill sergeant would come in and look at your boots and say, you know, those aren't clean, and it was a Shinola was a foot polish or a shoe.
So
polish.
is this a cleaning product?
No, it's not. It's actually
it's like a tech SaaS company.
You actually
isn't
need
it?
to check it out. It's not a SaaS company, but it has they make watches.
Okay.
Products, leather goods. It's a really cool brand. So the guy that founded Fossil Watches, Tom Hirsch, this was his new venture, but it was all about bringing manufacturing back to Detroit.
So do they manufacture like custom watches that other companies brand?
So no, it's all Swiss watch parts that they outsource. Okay. They come in and they're assembled and built in Detroit.
Yeah.
So really, that's the story of bringing manufacturing. They do bikes, they do other stuff.
Do you get hooked up with watches then?
Yeah, I usually pull a watch or two off his wrist.
Are you a watch guy?
Not really.
No?
Honestly, ever since getting the Apple Watch, it's
yeah,
$500. It's probably the best watch I've ever had.
I have enough distraction with this thing, like, on all the time. I couldn't imagine having it on my wrist and...
Yeah, sometimes you feel like people are like, "Are you good on time?" You're like, "Oh no, sorry, my watch just buzzed and I was looking at it." And I'm like, "Gosh, when's this meeting?"
I know you're like checking time and everything like that, but you're just actually looking at your text messages that are coming through. Yeah, I think that's a problem.
Emojiing my wife, my kids.
Eventually, it's just going to be in our eyeballs. I would venture to guess, probably just like projecting out and
too much.
There's some tech. There's some interesting tech out there. Are you big into the tech scene?
I was a technology major at Stanford, so I've always really embraced technology and have tried to make it at the forefront of what we're doing in an industry that I think is lagging for the opportunity set. But you're starting to see a lot of people that see the magnitude of the space and are pushing in with like smart home technology and stuff like that. And now new building systems that are coming in. You're talking, a multi-trillion-dollar business annually, multifamily real estate. So it's cool to starting to see some innovation and things come in, and it was.
What are some of the major things like that come top of mind as far as tech in this industry?
Well, I think smart home technology is interesting with sort of the sustainability measures and those kind of things that are going on. I think building systems, you're seeing how prefab is coming in, where they're assembling within factories and then coming in with cranes and cutting down on construction timelines. We're working with one real interesting group called Katera that's doing more of a panelized system, which is really, really unique. You're seeing stuff in the software space in terms of property management softwares and all the disparate systems that are out there.
Have you built any, and you've built a good amount here in Colorado, right? You guys have put together a good amount in Colorado?
We haven't developed per se. We've been involved in a lot of development projects, but we just haven't been capitalized as a business to do that. I think it's a little late in the cycle, but that's sort of a next foray for us, is to create a development entity for us to start to do that in the next cycle.
Are there any that are 100% renewable that you've seen? Have you been in any of those buildings yet?
It's pretty loosey-goosey. LEED certification hit the scene, and it was like, hey, if you put in a bike rack, you're LEED silver. It's sort of the criteria was pretty not all that intrusive. But there's some probably one of the coolest places I've been is the National Renewable Energy Center out here in Golden, which is the U.S. government's basically renewable energy research center and lab. And that's
in Golden?
It's probably one of the most advanced buildings in terms of the way that they light it, the way that they cool it and heat it. It is really, really spectacular.
Right.
But that cost has to come down. Things as simple as solar panels and stuff like that. you do the analysis.
Have you looked into Elon Musk's solar panels, the Tesla panels?
stuff,
I heard those are cheaper they're getting them cheaper than normal rooftop or roof builds.
I can't say we're
going
through
term
one
is,
audit right now, and there could be some considerable savings if you're going to hold the asset for a period of time where there's actually a payback on it.
The problem with the renewable buildings that I'm seeing and like just hearing about, you may know more about this than I do, but is that the mining that they do to get the materials to create is still tearing up the environment in a way that like we wouldn't be otherwise.
Right.
So
I don't know much about it, but
yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I think every time people start to talk renewable, then they get into the value engineering process.
Yep.
And it's one of the first things that gets cut out, and it's a great marketing story and position, but what's the return on investment? And nobody really knows how to quantify that. So,
well, I had a gentleman on my podcast who's running for District 6, so like the downtown area, and his campaign is like making everything 100% renewable within like 4 years, 100% renewable. But also you go back to what's the fine line on that? Like, there's some gray area as far, like you said, you put a bike rack in and get, certified.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the cost has to certainly come down to have it make sense. And I think I was reading an article about the potential of such an ambitious goal with green roofs and renewable and all that. And
I'm all for it.
It's a great place to do it. I mean, sunshine we get, and there's thermal and everything in the ground. So it's just, there's a lot to it. And unfortunately, construction costs are up 30+% since the trough. So just to even make things pencil.
Since the trough?
Yeah, the trough of the economy, the multifamily economy.
Yeah.
Construction costs
08, 09.
through the roof.
Yeah.
So, just to put a roof and flooring in a building is almost a miracle these days. So to tack on all the sexy renewable stuff is getting taken out of budgets quickly.
Yeah. I'm super fascinated by this because I live in Rhino. I live in the Rhino area, and I see them putting so many units in this area. And so like the building across the street from me, my building's at probably 90% capacity, 95% capacity. The building across the street's been up for 8 months now, almost. They're at 40% capacity.
Sounds like one we ought to contact.
And they're building, probably, and they're building another, are just finishing another one on the other side over there. And I don't know, like, do you think because of the big rush that we had, marijuana legalization here and everyone rushing here, do you think that they've overbuilt a little bit in the area and it's gonna implode on us? Because I keep feeling it.
I think the supply-demand is not too far out of whack, to be honest with you.
Really?
We continue to have in-migration. I think there's a lot of demand and a lot of desire to be in Denver. And I think each pocket, generally when people look at, supply demand for the Denver MSA, I think that's a bit misleading in terms of where are the demand drivers and where do people want to be and where is their excitement, because if you're bringing entertainment, retail, restaurants, those types of venues, public transportation, people are going to continue to flock to those areas. And I think Rhino's sort of one of the next frontiers of where downtown is building to. So
they're building.
To me, it sounds like a poor strategy. I mean, I've driven through Rhino too, and it's pretty alarming. Where you're just like literally every block is under construction,
and not just construction. If it were like a shopping complex, it's units. They're putting lots of units in over there.
Yeah, there's no doubt. So I mean, it just seems a bit chaotic, and nobody really wants to live in a construction site, but they want to live where there's excitement and growth and energy. So I think things just need to kind of simmer down a little bit because it's hard to even navigate around those streets.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the streets are closed and you're getting stuck on one ways, and it's just even hard to find a leasing office. So I don't know I wouldn't say that one deal is indicative of what's going on in Rhino. It could be a sleuth of other things.
May just be the pocket, maybe the construction going on, but also it's more than just that one building. There's probably 3 brand new ones just built at the same time, And I'm looking at that one, and I asked them, I'm like, where are you guys at? Because I'm just curious. Like, I love real estate. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we're at 40% capacity right now. We've been open several months.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Who knows what the driver is behind that, but...
Oh, we'll go down there together. We'll go get your foot in the door.
Yeah. I'd like to... Might be an opportunity for our management company to come in and do something for them. But you
guys will work with multifamily units and help fill the space, renovate them properly, make sure they're operating properly. That's where you say you're kind of more operations.
Yeah, we have 4 entities, of which one of those entities is a property management entity. So we own and will operate our own account, and then we also offer that service on a third-party basis. So, yeah, sort of property management. The things are lease it, market it, handle residents, move in, maintenance, customer service, all of those.
Take the toilet calls.
Elements, yeah.
At 2 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a team here that, if something goes out in a complex, you guys have to...
So we actually have on-site. We don't manage teams or communities that don't have an on-site operating team, which really the threshold for that's about 125 units in general. Sometimes smaller if the price points are high enough to do that, but we're not set up to be kind of a mom and pop operator where they're all here. What you see in this office, which is about 100 people, which make up all 4 of those entities at this point, but they're really more of the management level side of things that are assisting, serving, and handling client relations and stuff like that, with the on-site teams really being the boots on the ground group. So, and
you have how many people in total now?
So we have about 700 total team members around the country in 32 states.
Wow.
Of which Denver's the headquarters.
Wow. Do you bring them in often?
Yeah, we do a series of different things. I mean, being so culture focused, we do something called the annual leadership summit. So we'll bring in leaders from all around the country, fly them in, put them up in a hotel, and do 3 days of team building and motivational speakers and talking about the culture and the why we do things and sort of create relationships within the company. And then, we talked a little bit about softwares and stuff like that. I think as the company grows, to still have it feel like a smaller company, and we're very much a best idea wins type of company where I really believe that ideas are one of the most valuable currencies in business, and so few times do people actually create a platform or a place for people to share ideas amongst each other. So we created sort of our own internal intranet, call it Facebook just for Cardinal Group, where everyone can share ideas.
Cardinal book?
And
what'd you end up calling it?
We call it Dashboard.
Oh, okay. Dashboard.
Might have to go through a renaming, but the idea was to give exposure to sort of some key performance indicators, KPIs, for sort of the whole company to see and create some friendly competition. But it really evolved from there to create a global feed where you could celebrate team members or ask questions or say, hey, here's a great idea, or I had a thought, and really stir the idea engine. And it's really been adopted aggressively at the company and been a great tool for us.
Good. Yeah. And I'm sure getting people to do that in a lot of organizations is a challenge, to get people to engage in a platform like that.
I just think most organizations don't really embrace the ideas. It's kind of hey, you're on the accounting team, do accounting things, and
don't talk to marketing.
Yeah, we kind of have our way of doing things, and just stay focused, keep your head down, and we got a job for you, and we'll let the idea people be the idea people. And I don't like that. I think if you're an accounting person, you have a maintenance idea, and you're a maintenance guy and have a marketing idea or whatever, it doesn't matter. We can cross-pollinate, and sometimes the best ideas come from the most unexpected areas.
True.
So we try to really create where everyone has a voice and can participate. It's up to them to decide how much they want to contribute.
So speaking of ideas, did you have an idea you would be in this type of business back when you're getting what was your degree that you're getting? Technology. Yeah, science and technology, to where you are now.
I always liked real estate But no, I thought maybe the entertainment business was of interest to me. Sports agency,
entertainment,
being an athlete.
Huh.
Yeah, it was just. I actually had a job opportunity with 19 Entertainment out of New York, who were the creators and founders of American Idol. So they had just come off season 1, had just landed their season 2 sponsor, Coca-Cola. Looked like things were going great. And it was a 2-person shop in New York, and they said, hey, do you want to be a part of this? And this is what we're trying to do. And I said, yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. And I was thinking I was moving to New York, and then we got 90-degree weather or 100-degree weather, and then 2 feet of snow the next day, and it was just miserable on the island of Manhattan.
Oh, so you did go to New York
and thinking that I was going to start looking for a place, and I had a job opportunity. It seemed really interesting, and it was entrepreneurial, and it just didn't sit right. So I was offered another position.
This was right after college, or while you're still?
It was sort of while I was still sort of wrapping up my studies. And then this hospitality developer in Southern California made me an offer too, and I was like, it sounds pretty good. Living on the beach in San Diego and building high-end hotels and golf course communities and stuff like that. Like, I think this is a better fit, and so ended up accepting that position and moving to. But to answer your question, I can't say that I did. I always knew that I wanted to create something. And I didn't know what the vehicle was going to be, but fortunately, as fate had it, I was put in a position with real estate and sort of triggered that excitement on the design and the creativity and how tangible real estate is.
Yeah, real. It's real.
It's very
real
real.
Estate. Yeah.
So,
did you have, besides working that job, did you have other real estate influencers? Were your grandfather into real estate, or that was the thing that really kicked off the fire for you?
Yeah, it was kind of the kickoff point was that, I was very fortunate because we were building sort of some of the world's finest hotels. So it was really kind of sexy.
Yeah,
and
but that was
people
fun.
wanted to see these things, and you could show it off, and it was.
Did you get to stay in each of them after you build them up?
Yeah, I've stayed in them. And
best hotel you've ever stayed in?
Gosh. There's a lot of good ones. I would say from a service and sort of the wow factor, probably a hotel we built in San Diego called the Grand Del Mar.
Grand Del Mar.
Which was it was one of 8 communities in the country that was 15-star, that it had a 5-star hotel, restaurant, and spa. And it was pretty over the top. I mean, you're talking a big-time payroll, over $2 million a month in just payroll.
Wow.
2 team members per guest. So just service at a level that most people haven't experienced. Not quite my thing. I will say probably if I was to go back, the Hana Hotel in Maui on the east coast of Hawaii, of the island of Maui. It's just,
that was one you built or put up?
No.
Oh.
It was my wife and I went there for our honeymoon, and we were supposed to be there for like a night. We ended up spending like 5 nights there.
Yeah.
It was just so laid back. It felt like you were staying at somebody's house. It wasn't service in your face. You're trying to read a book, and can I get you something? No, I just want to read my book. Now I got to start over on this paragraph because you keep asking me 5 seconds if I want to drink. This place is like, we'll get you anything. There's a phone. Call us and let us know. So it felt like you were hanging out, and that you could just call up and say, hey, bring me 2 pina coladas. And 10 minutes later, they were delicious and brought down to you at the pool. So I like that more casual.
I've never been to Hawaii yet. I have yet.
You got to do it.
Yeah, I know. People tell me. I've traveled. Have you traveled outside of the country besides, any other favorite spots you've been to?
I've been fortunate to travel a lot and see a lot of really cool places, and I think all of them are so unique. But like you were saying with Hawaii, my wife had done a lot of traveling. She's half Thai. Spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia, and we were kind of looking at all these exotic locations. Like, you ever been to Hawaii? And she said no. It was like, people travel all over the world and forget about literally paradise. I mean, I think from a tropical standpoint, Hawaii is the best place in the world.
Can you believe well, actually, you can't believe the volcanoes and everything that's been happening recently. Yeah, but it's not a surprise. It's fully anticipated, and that whole island could go kaput like that. Yeah. It's kind of sketchy. But we are near Yellowstone, so
Yeah.
that could be bad too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, so you're outside of your development job, which you're doing that for how long?
I did that for 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then I moved up to Lake Tahoe and worked for 2 private developers on a similar high-end golf course, residential community, private club concept for 2 years.
So you were living the life of luxury early on into your career, pretty much.
I don't know if I was living it, but I was.
Maybe not living it, but tasting it.
Yeah, I think I got a dose of sort of what the high-end really expected. You know, when you're contemplating those types of places and the service levels and the product type that's going to attract that type of clientele, it was starting at the top, which I think was helpful because the way I like to design projects or value add deals is sort of start with everything, sort of your grand vision, price it out, and then work through in a value engineering process to, within reason, not, hey, our budget's $5 million and we're going to design to $20 million and then pare back. But let's be pretty ambitious and then figure out what the best return on investment is and pare down from there. And as you take pieces out, and sort of how it's like a recipe, a little part of everything. And as you take pieces out, what's going to have the best tasting thing?
Interesting.
For the budget. So,
were you actually working on design, layout, and like the architecture?
Yeah, so I think I was invited to those meetings very early on and sort of sat patiently, but would speak up from time to time. And the developer kind of recognized that, hey, this kid's got a lot of good ideas, and I just really like spatial planning, and I think it's just a skill that I've been blessed with to just see spaces as they are and how they can be transformed or how they can be improved.
Yeah, it is a skill. Because you should see my apartment, dude. It's messy.
Yeah, nice. Well, I don't do individual apartments.
No,
but
not
I
at all.
Looking at those
but
plans
you came in, you readjusted the table, you readjusted some things. Like, I can see
I'm
it.
very particular.
I see it. Yeah.
It's like, I always say,
I wish I was more like that, but I'm not. I'm just like, go and like, I'll clean up the mess afterwards.
Yeah, that's where I feel very blessed in my partnership because it's a good yin yang. Our chief operating officer and my business partner, Alex O'Brien, were very similar but very different. And where he compliments me, I can compliment him in other areas, and it's been a great, marriage, so to speak, of helping one another. He's kind of one of those go, keep going down range, and I'm kind of cleaning up the details and meddling in, all the particulars, and that's a great partnership. But I always say good and great is not separated by miles. I mean, it's truly inches that add up over a period of time. So like you were saying, oh, this office is so cool and great. We didn't spend a lot of money. I mean, we spent $44 a square foot, including furniture and IT. And if you told anyone in the office space and took them through there, and they'd be $44 a square foot, no way.
Yeah.
Or with the dashboard.
But in fairness, you're also a pro at this and probably know where to get stuff, how to source different items that you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, leverage some relationships and, but just being smart about where to spend money. And, this is not a place where we spent a lot of money on, but it's had the same effect on people where they're like, this is the coolest office I've ever been to.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That's what we want to try to accomplish out in our communities too, is to create that same sort of wow experience within a reasonable budget, and I think that has contributed to our success.
So what are the origin story? Go all the way, meeting with your partners and starting to develop out the concepts of your business. What was that like?
You're going to have to cut me off if I get long-winded or put me back on track, because it's a story I love telling, and it is a great story, but it's one that I like reliving. So 4 guys, all entrepreneurial, living in San Diego, working in different areas of real estate with different connections. One partner was a fraternity brother from college. Another was a friend of a friend who was a Marine Corps officer. And another was just a friend of all of us that ended up at grad school with my fraternity brother. Sort of came together with the same ethical and moral business philosophies, which I think was the original attraction. Obviously, being intelligent, having big vision, being aggressive, and partnerships are always hit or miss. And I love when people say, like, I'd never get into business with my friends. It's like, I wouldn't get into business without my friends, because you know who they are as people. And, we've been through a lot of really challenging moments in time throughout the last, what has it been now? Almost 14 years of assembling.
And not to cut you off, but it's the same with family business too. And I'm in a family business now. Me and my dad work in total partnership running this company and growing this company, and it's the best thing I've ever done.
That's great.
It's a blast. Every day is fun. Even when we go at each other's throats, we got, the dynamics of the family relationship, and people are like, dude, you shouldn't do it. You're not going to last a year going into the family business, blah, blah, blah. But I resonate with what you just said there. So
when it works, it works. When it doesn't work, it can be very toxic to family relationships. And I can't say that we were so smart and so premeditated that it worked. I mean, the reality is we're blessed in the partnership. How we naturally sort of organically fell into our roles, what our interests were, what our complementary skill sets were, but all shared in sort of we're all going to drive forward, and be aggressive and sacrifice a lot of other things to do what we're doing. Some good, some bad, but there's never been a moment in time where we felt like, hey, someone's carrying the unfair burden, or, we actually did have a fifth partner that helped start the business, who's not with us any longer. But you're right. I mean, when you're at each other's throat, when you're challenging each other, the expectation is that you're going to bring partnership level and value to the company. And you've got to have thick alligator skin. And we are very hard on each other. We have very high expectations.
Because of getting feedback, since it's more of a round table
it's just
type. You ever heard 360
feedback?
Yeah.
And the dynamic of a multi-person partnership can either be really beneficial, like it's been for us, or really detrimental if, someone feels like they're not pulling their weight, or whatever those things could be. But we basically came together, and to make a very long story somewhat digestible, was 2004, which was sort of the height of the lending boom and the real estate boom, when everyone's buying as many homes, flipping them, making $100,000, and we said it's sort of hard to be a real estate company without owning any real estate. We went and purchased a single family home, not because we thought it was the greatest investment in the world, but we needed money. And so we basically took advantage of the lending environment. They bought 100% of the home. We had to come up with closing cost. And then, as expected, about 3 months later, they offered us a home equity line of credit for $100,000. So this is on a $273,000 home. The bank was in it for $373,000.
Yeah. So for those of you guys that are listening, and just to understand what's going on here, you basically, instead of going out and getting a small business loan, you used the equity in the home to get a line of credit that you could invest into your company.
Yes. Well stated, and I don't know if there was any equity in the home, so to speak, and hence the reason that we ended up in the place that we were in 08 and 09, where just the whole country was over-levered to a massive degree. Fortunately, we took that over-leverage and that equity that so existed in the home and went and rolled that into buying student housing in Oxford, Ohio, where two of my business partners.
With that $100K?
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, so that was sort of the seed money to get the company off.
How many units?
We probably acquired like 5 deals with that $100,000. That was sort of our seed capital to get out there to underwrite the deals, the travel expenses, some equity into the deals. But we went out and syndicated and raised money from friends and family to do that.
How much was a student housing unit in 04? This was still 04?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it depends. We were buying single-family homes at that point in time. So very, very different than what we're buying now, which, the plan was always to build an institutional platform.
You mean student housing as in home?
Well, student housing, so that was the investment strategy, was to buy in college towns and rent to students.
Got it. I thought you were meaning like student housing units.
No.
Like buildings.
So we were...
Like, wow, you guys like went from 0 to 100 really quick. With 100...
We sort of did. I mean, in some respects, we went from buying a single-family home to buying 3 contiguous single-family homes that we thought might be like a townhome development project, to buying a 14-bed boarding house, to buying a 120-bed deal with 5 different buildings all on one block in Madison, Wisconsin, at the University of Wisconsin, to then in 2008 buying our first institutional deal, so 495-bed deal in Athens, Georgia, at the University of Georgia. And then about 9 months later, we bought.
So you're going across the country too to.
So now we kind of spread out.
Deals.
Yeah, and a year later, we bought probably the most high-profile distressed student housing deal in the country, which was 1,214 beds in Atlanta, Georgia.
That must have been a fun
that everyone
deal
looked
to work
at
on.
and sort of went, "Oh gosh, I'm not going to touch that thing." And we were, call it naive, but we went in there and acquired this thing. They built it for $110 million in 2005. 2009, we bought it for $35 million all cash with a private equity partner out of New York. Repositioned it, and 8 months later, the building was at 42% occupancy. It was 100% occupancy, leading the market in rate. Had completely rebranded, transitioned the whole community, and that really put our flag to say, wow, like, can they do that again? They catch lightning in a bottle, or is this actually like, are they that good? So a lot of money sort of followed suit to say that was a hell of a turnaround. Let's do more of that.
Yeah.
And
now, those of you that aren't in real estate, that is really impressive. What are some of the key takeaways from doing that deal, doing that size of a deal that early on into your career?
Well, I think what it taught us was the amount of work that is required of a deal of that size versus the amount of work required in even buying a 14-bed boarding house, about the same from an acquisition, underwriting, at least the way we approached it. And
I hear that a lot.
Raising money. So
I hear that a lot in real estate.
Yeah.
That doing small deal, like my dad buys all these fourplexes all over the place. That's mostly where he goes. But I've heard doing 35 units or 100 units. It's the same amount of work as doing a 4-unit deal.
In a lot of respects, it is. And then there's sort of no man's land that a lot of players play in, where it's too small for the institutional player and too big for the ma and pa. And so a lot of people are playing in that space, and we sort of, I guess, moved our way through and graduated into more of the institutional space where, we're competing with pension funds and insurance companies and sort of all the big players in the space, which is an honor and a privilege to be competing with them and working with a lot of them, both on the management side and the way we've been able to raise equity. So we've gone from, friends and family to private equity. Now we have a, pseudo-discretionary fund with a joint venture partner out of San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. And explain to people what that means.
Yeah, so basically there's a bucket of money that's available for us to invest in certain parameters. We call it in a certain bucket, is how we sort of speak about it. But that bucket's really student housing. We're looking for distressed opportunities, which are very hard to find right now. But within a certain parameter, we basically have discretion to go out and chase and purchase deals and not have to go and raise the money. The money has already been earmarked or in an account that we can control.
When that opportunity arises
Exactly.
in the next 4 years, 3 years?
I don't know.
4 years.
We've gotten about halfway through this vehicle, having a hard time finding deals. So our strategy has changed as the market dynamics have changed a little bit, but we're anxious to get that place to sort of go and raise fund to. And money is the bloodline of any business, especially in real estate. And everyone's looking for the most flexible, cheapest cost of capital. And I feel that we're in a really, really good spot. We were one of maybe the only ones in this last cycle, late in the cycle, that actually went out in the student housing space and were successful in raising a programmatic fund vehicle
And that's still a major part of your bread and butter is the student housing.
Yeah, that's sort of the bread and butter. We do a lot of market rate conventional multifamily as well.
I think they're building next door.
Actually,
or they're starting the downstairs.
Yeah, we're about wrapping it up. I don't know what they're doing today, but
Nice. So you guys are almost done down there?
we move in June 19th.
Okay.
So
You're going to put like a cool
Final
fire pole,
No,
fireman
I
pole
wish.
from up here downstairs?
We do just have the exit stair that we're going to fob. So
Oh, that's
to
lame.
ride the
No.
elevator. It is. But we're going to bring in an artist and kind of decorate.
On the stairwell?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Just kinda
You
make
got
it
good art.
unique,
You got good art taste. I'll take that. Like it's really bright, vibrant colors around here that really contrasts with kind of the dark, woody and the gray and everything.
Yeah.
I dig it. I
We
wish
have-
I was
we have
that
good
sophisticated.
designers. We have good designers
Uh-huh.
who hold us accountable.
Yeah. So back to your origin story. You guys did that monster deal,
Yeah.
and then what was the
Well, the plan was always to
after
build
that?
an institutional platform.
What does that mean?
It means playing in the space that we're playing in now. So it wasn't, hey, we want to just be a small
Four guys
company,
doing-
four guys. Let's
yeah.
go buy some 8 plexes and maybe we'll buy a 20 or 40 unit place and just amass a little local portfolio. It was, we want to be investing institutional capital. So for insurance companies, pension funds, hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars we want to put to work and build a platform that is, of highest caliber. So operating, constructing, investing,
Also
marketing,
building them.
developing, yeah.
Because you don't do that now,
We don't
right?
do that now, and that's primarily just a capitalization issue. There's the development game is sort of a rich man's game, so to speak. So you have to be capitalized to go and source deals, all the pre-development.
You know who
costs,
our president
entitlement.
is, right?
Yeah,
Sure, he's accessible.
He's done pretty well.
He's done some big deals.
Yeah, he's done a lot of big deals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's like I mentioned, probably we're pushing into that space.
But now it's
we have some
more
strategic partnerships.
either buying, managing, or buying and like flip. So you
Yeah, we
were
do.
flipping these deals, or you're taking the revenues that were coming in and
So we're repositioning them. I mean, sometimes we're
Yeah.
buying a stabilized deal.
But are you holding them as long-term
Yeah.
investments as well?
Some. So our hold period for this fund is going to be 7 to 10 years.
Okay.
So the fund's been in existence for about a year and a half. So it just depends. I mean, the market's really hot right now. If we get a big offer that we just can't say no to, we would dispose of the assets, and that's sort of where, again, this fund vehicle gives us some discretion to sort of evaluate what we think is the right thing to do. Or we might hold on to them and just see the yield coming off them and the cash flow and build a nice portfolio and continue to grow our management presence. And
Are you going to open your fund to the public at any point?
no,
Like
it's no. So we have one investor, is the way we see it. They have a couple investors that have come in
As
via
one
them,
entity?
but as one entity.
Right.
But we basically answer to one. It's a 2-person investment committee. So it's a pretty efficient way of doing deals. Yeah.
That's awesome. So back to the story, because you didn't finish the origin story.
Yeah.
That was too short to be considered.
That was a little short. So anyway, we started buying these institutional deals. Mind you, this was sort of a nights and weekends type of venture for us. So one of the funny stories is when we convinced this private equity group that we were the group they should back. We needed a $35 million check. And the guy said, well, this is great. You've done 25 deals. Can you break it down? We're like, well, there were 25 single family homes and one institutional deal. And the guy just kind of went pale, like, what? And he's like, where's your offices? We're like, we don't really have an office. Working out of our spare bedroom. That's who we are. And the guy's like, oh, crap. He's like, all right, don't say anything. I got this. I'm going to lose my job if, my diligence was so poor. And basically said, we're not going to let you down. We're committed to this, and this is the future for us, and this is the biggest deal. And, Now
don't underplay that, because what did you have to do really to go in and sell a $35 million deal? A lot of people, that's like a whole nother world to them listening to this right now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's preparation. you've got to know the deal, know the investment, know the market, and that's sort of how we were able to even win these deals where we were playing in a space we weren't qualified to play in, but we just knew more about the asset, more about the market, had a better business plan, articulated that better. We said, we're never going to be the ones that have the most money. We're never going to be the one that has the track record. We're never going to be anyone that's going to be able to compete with us. The only thing we can do is outwork people, and outthink people. And so let's make that work product the best that it can be. And so we actually won the prior deal via exactly that. It was a foreclosure. It was really messy. There was a really complicated loan that had to be worked out, but we just sort of said, well, we'll figure it out. And we convinced the bank, and one funny story was because we all had our separate jobs, they didn't tell me that they had moved the time. So I called in for the bank interview that was the owner of the asset, trying to pick who they were going to sell the asset to. And I caught the tail end of the other group in the best and final, and they sort of summarized something like this. We've got $250 million on the balance sheet. We're based in Atlanta, just 45 minutes from Athens. We have operated over 30,000 student beds. We're ready to go. We can pay all cash, and it was like, okay, this is who we're competing against. Like, called my business partners. I'm like, the gig's up. Great experience, but the gig's up. We're not winning this deal. Look at what I just heard. And everyone's like, okay, well, maybe chalk it up as a good experience in the investment we made, and that's fine. And we'll take that moral victory, although we're not totally into moral victories. We sort of chalked it up and said, let's put our best foot forward. Let's prepare. And we wrote out all the questions we felt that bank might ask. We worked with the brokers saying, what are they going to ask? We wrote them out. We practiced it, all of that. Well, we got onto our bank interview and just nailed it. And that afternoon, the broker called and said, are you familiar with the story of David and Goliath? We're like, yes, we are. And he said, well, you guys are David. You slayed the giant. The deal is yours. And it was like, what? What sort of bank would ever choose us where it's like, we have no money, we work out of our spare bedrooms, we have other jobs. We've never done an institutional deal in our lives, but they just said, the response was, you guys know the deal so well, we want to give you a shot, we're willing to do it, and we think that your plan is the best we've heard, and that's why we're awarding you the deal, something like that. So we got a big break. That same broker then brought us the deal. That bank happened to be the lender on this big deal in Atlanta. So they came to us. And
how big was this deal?
That one was like
David and Goliath deal?
Yeah, probably $25 million.
Oh, okay.
We had to raise
still
about
a little
$3 million.
Step up. Yeah.
Yeah. So
this was a student housing.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah. So it was for us. It was a big deal.
So it wasn't straight from 0 to $35 million. You had this $25 million product that you were working on in the meantime. And then with because of your win with that lender there, you're able to go in and win again.
Yeah. We sort of got positioned, and we had proposed a different strategy where they were all cash buyers, and we came in under a joint venture with the bank and said, hey, you guys roll it in. We'll basically take a position. We'll bring $3 or $4 million via friends and family that we'll raise. We'll reposition this. You guys will recoup a lot of your investment, and why don't we do this together? And they were like, love the concept. Our board will never approve this. This thing is off on the launch. We've got tons of all cash offers. Like, basically, if you guys can find an all cash buyer, we'll award you the deal.
Yeah.
And so the broker put us in touch with a group out of New York. Went and cut a deal, and that was where the story of like, wait, you guys have done how many deals? And they were also like, oh my gosh, I'm in such hot water. Well, I told you the story about 8 months later how we had fully repositioned the asset, won almost every major national student housing award for a repositioning of an asset, and it really put Cardinal Group on the map and showed that we were the real deal and could actually do it.
And what year was this?
That was 2009.
Wow. And so this was right when you got through this. This is when things were
it was
tipping
so messy.
down.
It was.
So what was that like in the business? Because this was technically like 5 years into your business, 4 years into your business when 2008 hit.
Yeah, it was sort of 2008 was kind of the start of like, all right, we're not just doing this as a hobby on the side of buying stuff. We've built some infrastructure. We want to like dip our toe in the institution.
Oh, perfect! Right when shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Did you have
And
employees
it
at this time, or this was still just the four of you?
We probably had like 3. So little by little,
The assistant in your home office?
As revenue started to come in, sort of a partner would leave their job and go full time and transition that way. And at one point, I was sort of taking a part of my paycheck when I was living in Tahoe as the last partner to come over, and writing checks to help subsidize the living expenses because we weren't making enough money. But we believed in the vision and what we were creating, and there was enough positive indicators to say, I think we're going to do this. And it was never an if, it was always a when.
Even in '08, when you're going through all this.
Well, gosh, we weren't unwinding any assets that were, a mess and were in a bunch of distress.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, the only thing we could have done better was just buy as much as we possibly could, but we didn't have a big track record. It was sort of like, all right, you've placed, however many tens of millions of dollars, and now we got to see some execution that you guys can actually pull it off. And then, there'll be more money at the end of the rainbow for that. So,
yeah,
it's just
it's
sort
a
of
scary
an
business to
evolution
be,
process.
because you get a fire. You're literally lighting a fire under your ass to perform on that.
which we're comfortable with and we like.
Yeah,
So
that's cool, man.
We're all for it, and I guess that's sort of our origin story. And we moved the business to Denver in 2011, consolidated under one roof.
And why Denver?
Chose Denver for a number of reasons, but we were investing and operating around the country, so we tried to find something central so we could get into a lot of markets, East Coast, West Coast, on direct flights, looking for a great place to live with a good lifestyle and an affordability that was conducive to building an operating company. That's changed over the last handful of years, where Denver's becoming more and more expensive, but I think you're seeing that around the country. And
I live in Rhino, dude. I live in Rhino.
You've seen the rental.
It's brutal.
Increases.
Yeah. Well, I moved down here to Denver 6 years ago, straight out of high school, and
from where?
From Fort Collins. So I'm a native, like a unicorn, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when I came down where I'm living now, rent was maybe $1,100, $1,250 a month. And now the one bedroom, 900 square foot I'm in is about $1,800.
Yeah.
$1,600 to $1,800. So just like that in a couple of years, which is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it'll balance out. Income, goes. We're in a great place to just build wealth and
I think this is the challenge, though. You mentioned like the supply demand. Are we overbuilt? I think the biggest challenge is construction costs have gone up so much that what you have to charge for rent just to cover debt service and pay back for what you spent to build the building is at getting to a very high price point. That
so it's more, can
many
people afford it?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. So I think that's the biggest issue, is how many people are making enough money to afford $1,900 a month for a 900 square foot one bed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're running out of that. There's not enough business in Denver to command those type of wages and those types of rents.
Do you think Amazon's going to move? Going to do the location here?
I have a theory on Amazon. I don't know whether it'll happen or not.
You should bring it out.
I do think that Denver's in the mix, but I think what Bezos is doing is using the total as a negotiating chip to go to all these cities and say, what are the best tax structure you can give me? What's all the incentive programs you can give me? I want to bring 50,000 jobs. I mean, you think about Denver and how attractive it is. Do you think there's 50,000 people in Denver or the surrounding area right now that could be in Denver? I don't think so. That's a lot of people. And then the amplifying effect, I think, is like a 5x. So now you're talking a quarter of a million
5x people moving here.
5x just for all the support businesses that are going to support Amazon or provide the services that they need to. So it's a ton of things. So I think Bezos is using that, and then he's going to go to basically 5 cities and say, hey, after further analysis, I don't think we really like Denver, for example, but we don't think we can attract 50,000 people. So we'd like to bring 10,000 people to Denver. And I'm going to go to Austin, Atlanta, Washington.
They're going to go everywhere anyways.
And they're going to say, but what you offered me was sort of your low water mark on taxes and stuff. And if you want us to come in even 10,000 jobs and what that can do for your economy, I'd like for you to meet what you offered under the 50,000 assumption. We see it in business a lot. So I think that's my guess, and the reason I feel that way is because Toronto's still on the list of the 20, and I think that's a bargaining chip with the U.S. on his federal taxes of saying, okay, well, if you don't want it, we'll just go up to Toronto. We need to be in the Canadian market anyway. And the reason I don't think he wants to go to Canada is that why would Detroit come off the list when that's his penetration point via Port Huron and Windsor to get into Canada and Ontario? And he decided to pull them off the list. So
I think Amazon's going to buy over Walmart too.
Buy Walmart?
I think Amazon will buy Walmart in the future.
I know that Walmart's trying to respond with their online stuff, and
they're not going to be able to compete.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
It's pretty. At some point, there's going to be some antitrust.
I mean, look at how Amazon bought Whole Foods for their data.
Yeah,
pretty much. Is probably mostly what they purchased the company for is their data and the location and everything. But it's good. I mean, like I shop at Whole Foods, it really is. But if you do it right, if you know how to do it right, it's not outrageous compared to like King Soopers. So like I go to the Whole Foods right downtown. Have you seen that one?
Yeah,
it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
and it's not that different from what am I thinking of? King Soopers, yeah. So, I mean, the way I see it, like, I'm a super health nerd.
Yeah.
So the way I see it is, like, I'll spend a little extra money to get that grass-fed meat, but that's going to, be an investment into myself in the long term anyways, where I'm going to lose money on my health anyways. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which more people...
A lot of people don't rationalize it that way, but that's the case, right?
Yeah. But a lot of people are living a different lifestyle where it's, they're squeezing on the margin to even get food on the table for the family, or their budgets look a lot different than a successful young single living in Rhino type person. So that's why I hope this platform here will empower someone to get that one golden nugget that gets them to take action on something that helps them create a 700-person culture-focused organization such as yourself. Well, my hope actually for Amazon is that they come to Denver because my business partner's family owns the site that's leading the way. So
there's an actual physical location that they're looking at.
They have submitted. One is the Denver Design District in partnership with Gates, the Gates site, which is basically Alameda, Broadway, and I-25. There's 2 light rail stations on that site, and the other one is Elitch Gardens. But
they should tear that thing down.
Yeah, that would be the ultimate location. But
they should absolutely get rid of Elitch's.
That their lease is going to be set up in time for Amazon to come in. So they've said that Denver Design District is the spot. So what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. Now that you paint the picture the way that you did, it makes sense that they would come and just say, you know what, we won't do 50K, but we'll put 10K people here, and we'll go to Dallas, and we'll go. I think that's more realistic anyways. They want reach and fingers everywhere.
I don't know why you do it. He's obviously having a hard time in Seattle. He sort of tapped out the labor market there. And
right.
Have you heard people there?
Have you followed what's going down in Washington?
In the state of Washington? No.
The taxes?
No.
So they are basically taxing the companies on the backs of what is it? See, now that I'm trying to verbalize it, I'm just going to completely screw it up. What is it that they're taxing them on? It was on the housing, something with housing. See, now it's totally.
They were going to tax the companies based on the housing that their labor force is living in.
They're taxing the head tax, taxing the companies per head within the organization. I can't remember the full repercussions, but it's also because the state of Washington isn't allowing them to build because they want to preserve the beauty of it. So, the streets are flooded with homeless people in Washington, and Microsoft's out there. Yeah, same with Portland. It's because of that. It's part of they won't build units.
The companies that are providing all the jobs is actually contributing to the congestion and the there's too many people. They want to charge them a head count tax to
Yes.
say you have too many people at your company here.
Yes. I don't know if it's
Wow.
that, but that is basically how it could be perceived. But they are. You should look into it because I feel like someone like you would be really interested in that.
Sounds ridiculous.
I'll see if I can find an article, send you or
Sounds
something.
very anti-growth capitalism.
It's 100%.
Generation.
This is when the far left tries to implement their it's political. It's political besides what is the actual organic capitalistic growth that's going to occur in this area. It's some screwed up situation up there. I mean,
sounds terrible.
Yeah, and it's affecting the homeless population. The fact that you won't build, like people aren't going to put a bunch of equity in their home. Costs are going to rise, so people are paying. I pay $1,600 in Rhino. Someone would pay $2,400 to live in that same location, probably in Washington. So it's outrageous. Yeah, we're in a good location here. Are they building a lot of multifamilies in Colorado right now, or is mainly like?
It is. Well, I mean,
is that just how I see it? Because I'm downtown.
No,
are they?
Well, one of the factors is that there's construction defect law that's very, very punitive to the developer. So you don't see a lot of condo product coming in. You see multifamily apartments coming in, the rent product, because there's a 10-year statute of limitation on the construction defect law. So even if there's a multifamily developer, they're writing into the purchase and sale agreement that you cannot convert it because it's the liability still lands with the original developer. So I think there's got to be a huge pent-up demand for condo where people want to own and don't want to spend $3,000 a month in an apartment when they could otherwise own and put equity onto their balance sheet, personal balance sheet. But
although that's the option, more millennial generation are renting over anything.
Yeah, I think there's more of that, but I still think there is the desire to own. If you were going to say, hey, my monthly payment is roughly the same, but I own this place versus I'm just giving it to another developer that's cash flowing, I think that, in a liquid market, and I would consider this a very liquid market right now with the demand, is presumably I can get out of it when I want to get out of it. Sometimes you can get out of that quicker than you can an apartment lease. Where you're signing a 12-month lease and month 4, all of a sudden you're getting recruited to go up to Portland. And now you're stuck in this thing, and how do you get out of your lease? And, it's not as liquid as people think and as flexible as people think.
Yeah.
I think in this environment, a condo could be more flexible. And
condo versus a home?
Condo versus an apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Do you do a condo or do you have a house in Cherry Creek?
I have a home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those houses are beautiful over there.
Yeah, we really like it. We lucked out.
Yeah.
We moved from San Francisco and rented a house sight unseen. And
San Francisco style home?
It's not quite that. But we like the area, and we're able to buy the house actually 3 doors down when it hit the market. So it was good timing. I mean, that was kind of the bottom of the market for Denver real estate too. So
my first role was door-to-door sales for renewal by Anderson Windows.
Okay.
And I'd hate going into the Cherry Creek area just because like people are. You shouldn't be doing door-to-door in that area. It's just, it's gated community, it's such a gray area if you're doing that. Like, I've been everywhere from, like, the sketchy areas of Aurora or whatever. I mean, sketchy compared relative, but to, like, whenever we're in Cherry Creek, it's just, like, never success in there.
Yeah,
never was.
A little more... different discerning clientele, I guess.
Yeah.
So I get used to getting pitched a lot on a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. That was good stuff. Well, so and we can start wrapping this thing up here pretty soon. What company culture is very important. So I think that it would be interesting for you to share how can organizations build out at the scalability that you did, you're 700 employees now, and still maintain like a really strong company culture.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think culture is either something that you really champion and you believe in, or it is just words on a website and words on a wall, hanging on a poster that collects dust. And I truly believe that a culture is living and breathing, and it cannot be a top-down type thing to say this is what you will believe at this company and this is what we're about. And it needs to be laid out and then really embraced, adopted, and then policed sort of down the organizational chart. And so there's just a myriad of things you can do to help create that. I mean, one of the things we do is an onboarding call with every new team member on Tuesday mornings, of which I'm on 90% of them. And it's a video conference. It happens in this room. If you're in Denver, you actually come to HQ. And I spend about 30 minutes with the team just talking about what's important. You know, what is this company? Where are we going? What's the fabric of it? And the majority of the conversation revolves around our culture. And then I expect them to adhere, to hold themselves accountable, to hold their teammate accountable. And, you know, that's just to sort of set the stage to give the rest of the team the I guess, teeth to enforce it.
Yeah.
I don't have to, I mean, it's self-policing now. And it's, if you're a culture person, you're going to fit in really well here. If you're not a culture person, you're not going to last very long, because the team will basically say, there's not buying into the culture. This isn't the right place for them. So, yeah, it's like I mentioned at the beginning, it's either something that will form, a culture will form in every organization. And often,
good or bad,
good
right?
or
No
bad.
matter what, culture is there regardless. Yeah.
Typically, knowing human nature, a culture is going to form that you're not, in favor of, or that is bad, or not what you want. And then it's very hard to be reactive in that and say, well, now that we're this, like, we actually want to be something different. So, hey, everyone follow me. It's
being able to make that
really
shift.
Hard to do, to make that shift.
Yeah.
You have to, from the beginning, say, look, this is who we are. This is what we want to be when we grow up. These are the type of people we're trying to recruit. Does this resonate with you? Because if it doesn't, you're not going to fit in well here.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the first things we did, was wrote our culture and our 10 core values and all of that very, very early. I mean, there's 4 of us.
But what gave you the intuition to build out that way?
I went to a conference in Las Vegas and heard Tony Hsieh, who's the founder and CEO of Zappos.com.
Yeah.
Talk. He's really big into like culture, and that was a big thing. I think is happiness. But heard him talk, and he said something very profound to me at the time. We had just sort of started this company, but he said, there's a misconception that people are your most important resource or your most important asset. And he said, people come and go. That's a variable. And I will tell you that culture is your number one asset. And that kind of like sat head. I was like, wow, that's actually really, really smart. And so we sort of took the 10 core values from Zappos, and if you lined up our 10 core values to their 10 core values, they're different, but they're very similar. At sort of his urging of saying, if our culture can help you formulate your own culture, by all means.
Yeah. You see what so it was that piece of data, that piece of information, seeing that person who was where you wanted to be. So interesting.
Yeah, it's a different business, but I think there's common themes and things.
And business and sale, like there's common themes.
If I was to start a tech company or a biotech company, the first thing I would do would be to pen a culture, and it would look exactly like the culture we have here, which
can't have a biotech company on a floor in a spot that looks like this.
People just daydream all day long.
Probably, yeah.
So I think culture is your fabric. It's your identity. And I think that a lot of companies exist for profitability or growth for the sake of growth.
That comes and stems from culture.
I think culture is all the success, and everything else is a byproduct of having the right culture and the people that it attracts, and sort of all like our business line is going to change. You want to be in property management is going to look a lot different in 5 years than it does right now. So in an ever-changing world, in a world that is truly changing exponentially, primarily due to technology, like, we've got to have a constant. We got to have something that we all put our feet on and say, like, okay, this sounds pretty stable. And that to us is our culture, that will not change regardless of technology, will not change regardless of business lines. That is sort of the North Star that we're always looking to. And then as the world around us changes and moves, like, there's some stability in that. and it's really effective. I mean, I think we do have one of the best cultures in multifamily, and because of that, we're able to attract the very best talent from around the country that all says, "I want to be a part of that."
Yeah, it's clear. And everybody smiled at me in this office, which doesn't happen in every office.
And that's not a core value or a requirement.
Not at all. No, I'm sure it isn't.
People are happy and they feel respected and they feel like there's worth. And I'm doing taking each one of our core values right now each month and sort of writing my thoughts about it. And I just completed our core value number 4, which is be a team player and respect those you work with. And, I used an illustration I hear so often in business. If I was to say, hey, yeah, this is Connor. He's my employee. He's worked for me for 5 years? It's like, I guess I'm your slave. Like, I guess I'm just like,
right.
Yeah, I'm your employee, and I'm your boss. And so I said, that just sounds like there's not worth in that. It's like the worth is, what's your worth to me? And you're lucky to be working for me. And so I flip it, and we have very specific language that we use here. And so if I said, hey, this is Connor, he's a teammate of mine, and we've worked together for 5 years. It's like, all right, wow, whoever is introducing me as a contributor to the team, that they're worthy, that they're respected, that the company couldn't function or be as good as it is without this person. And there's nuance to that, and it's subtle, but it's important.
Yeah,
one is very belittling, and one is very building and worth building.
Yeah, but the thing is, it is subtle. It is subtle. It's very simple. Yeah. But the little simple things that can make absolutely all the difference in the world. Doing that, it's very congrats on your success, man. That you've been doing this. It's really incredible. It's really exciting to see, and you're a great leader. Matter of fact, I want to introduce you to my friend Heather Younger. I've had her on the podcast. She has another podcast called Leadership with Heart, which actually you should check out. And she's local here as well, does speaking and all that stuff. Should be a great connection for you. But so as we're kind of winding down here, what kind of resources are you looking for at this point in time? Employees, anything that you can think of as your
I think the one that comes to mind that is not unique to Cardinal Group, but sort of all industries right now, is finding the right people. And for us, it's not, finding the smartest people. It's finding people that would be great culture champions and really buy into what we're trying to do. And I think effort and passion override resume and intelligence all day long. When people try to lead with intelligence, you don't get very far, because we interact with people. And when you're passionate and people can see that you're passionate and you're capable and you're willing to roll your sleeves up and be a team player, those are the type of people we're looking for.
Yeah. So let me ask you this on that, and I think this is really important for people to hear. You're CEO of a 700-person company. Would you rather hire somebody who has passion, excitement, and maybe even some dirty hand experience, but no college degree, versus someone with a college degree who has a really, sophisticated degree and they're not what I had just mentioned?
Yeah, I would say that that's a fair statement. Yeah, I mean, I think that, I don't want to promote people not getting educated. I think that that's a good base and a foundation. I do have my bones I want to pick with the American education system, that I don't think that they're teaching real life skills that could be highly, highly valuable to the workforce and get people, sort of up to speed with what goes on in day-to-day real life, as opposed to some of the, abstract thinking and the liberal arts type education like I experienced, where I don't really apply a lot of the formal education that I had to my everyday business life. Learn more of that from being a part of a team or sports and athletics and some of the formal education. But I think we're missing the mark in terms of some of those softer skills.
I went to school for marketing here at Metro State University. Yeah. And 99% of what I do every day is not involved with what I learned in those classes.
And I think that's a common theme.
That's why I feel strong about that.
Well, think of the investment you made financially and time-wise.
Imagine if I bought a multifamily unit for that same investment I made to school and flipped that, or whatever.
I mean, I think there's stuff you learn from it, but yes, I think I would rather have someone that's passionate, that's a team player, and wants to roll their sleeves up, and no job's too big, and you really have to sort of teach that. I always say servant leadership is key. So I mentioned you better be prepared to serve, not be served in a leadership role. The reality is you've got to be willing to roll your sleeves up and get in the trenches and show that so people will respond to that. And so, there's tons of opportunities to do that. And some of them are just subtle, of just spending time with someone, giving them a listening ear, make them feel they are important. Make them feel that they're important. And if you're so important that you can't spend 5 minutes to get to know one of your team members, just because they're not worth your time or whatever, there's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
So obviously the thing we're looking for is...
Are you looking for specific roles? Like any specific jobs right now?
I mean, we have in the forehand, we probably have 50 open positions right now.
Okay.
So I think, as you mentioned, what is the focus? Really, our recruiting platform that we're in the process of improving and building out, and really, there's just a labor shortage. I mean, 2.8% unemployment in Denver. I think 3.2% in the country. Everyone's got a job right now.
Yeah. Keep doing what you guys are doing on Instagram, though. I mean,
cool.
I
haven't been on it all that much.
Yeah, your who's running your Instagram page?
We have a full social media team that that is run through our marketing agency that handles that. So
got it. But as far as attraction to employ, because that's not going to be so much of a business development tool, Instagram for you. Yeah. I mean, maybe, but more on the employee side and recruiting side.
Well, I say we are selling ourselves probably more to the labor force right now than we are to the ownership groups, because there is such a labor shortage. But this is where a culture and a great place to work is so beneficial, because we get when we identify someone, we oftentimes are able to attract them to the company. Mm-hmm. And people that enjoy working here are happy to refer their friends and say, "Gosh, you're not happy? You should come work at Cardinal Group." And I think the key is you can take some people outside of the industry, and if you have the right training platform, which I think we have the best training platform in multifamily, you can bring them up to speed pretty quickly.
You guys built this?
Yeah.
Custom in-house training?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we've probably got about 600 courses, and there's different learning paths and stuff like that, and there's a full training team that administers that and works hard on that, and they do a great job. I mean, there's a lot of pieces that go into it, especially when you're in such a people-heavy business.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a lot of people we're responsible for that sort of are the ones that are boots on the ground representing the company. So they're massively critical and important, and so sort of all things are important in business. I don't want to be just good in one area and not. I want to be really good and solid in all parts of it. Yeah,
I got
even
it.
Four-dimensional. If we could
even
go
four-dimensional, Probably could. Probably could, honestly. Yeah. How can people get into contact with you? Where should they come find you?
Yeah, I think cardinalgroup.com, and we have a careers page that shows all the open positions, and that team's receptive to it. And I think we have a very cumbersome application process, which I want to have intentionally, to not just say, hey, I want to throw my resume out to 10 companies. I want people to say, I want to be at Cardinal Group. This is where I want to focus my attention. I'm going to make the effort.
Do you make people submit video?
We have
to do it. Yeah, I think it's a great way to go about it.
Depending on the role, sometimes there's a pretty cumbersome in-person interview. Our head of Agency 53 will tell you it was an 8-hour interview with the principals in this conference room right here, which he didn't even know he was applying for a job. But it was important enough to us. And then we do a lot of Wonderlic testing too. So there's cognitive and
do you do the DISC?
And
is that similar to DISC assessment?
Yes, it's like that.
Okay.
Wonderlic is probably best known because the NFL uses it sort of for their competency of the players coming into the league. I don't know what they do with the data, but they do Wonderlic every when they make that public. It's kind of hilarious to see.
Probably creating AI out of it or something, selling the data.
They've been doing it for years. They've been doing it for years. So we use tools like that to really identify, to say, hey, on the surface in the resume and good interview, but is there further merits or substance to this candidate, and they have the right motivation, they have the right cognitive and intelligence level and stuff like that for that role. So there's a lot of cool technology and stuff out there. So it's just got to be careful not to chase every shiny object, but try to build.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is
together.
shiny object syndrome. Comes in new tech. I do it all the time. Marketing, it's like you're always trying to figure out what's the next best thing to get you over that. Save you time, really, is anything that can save time is massively important.
Yep. Especially a lot of people.
Yeah, Del, I really appreciate this. This is awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for doing this. I'm going to wrap it. We'll have to do this again. Maybe we can get the one of the other partners in on here as well, and maybe hear their perspective on the story. Yeah. No, not at all. It was great. And guys, thanks for listening. As always, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. We'll chat with you next time.